Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bird Notice. Billy here. Jackson Holliday, Danny Coulombe, and Kyle Bradish are all placed on the injured list. And the Orioles get a jersey patch sponsor. But Ryan, what episode number is this?
This is episode 47, which was worn by the all-time leader in appearances by a pitcher, Jesse Orosco. Orosco pitched in 1,252 games with just 4 starts over 24 major league seasons, starting with the Mets. After being drafted by the Twins in 1978, he was traded to the Mets in 1979 as a player to be named later for former All-Star Jerry Koosman. By 1983, Orosco was an All-Star himself and led the Mets in saves, repeating those feats again in 1984. He is probably best known for striking out Marty Barrett to win the 1986 World Series and throwing his glove into the air in celebration. Orosco threw 13 and 2/3 innings that postseason, allowing 3 earned runs with 16 strikeouts and 2 walks. He would next appear in the postseason as a Los Angeles Dodger, having been traded after the 1987 season in a 3-team deal. Orosco made stops in Cleveland and Milwaukee before making it back to the playoffs in 1996 with the Orioles. From 95 to 99, Orosco made 336 appearances for the Orioles with a 3.35 ERA and 11 saves in 244 and 1/3 innings. He was traded to the Mets for Chuck McElroy after the 1999 season, then sent to the Cardinals before the next season began. Orosco later returned to the Dodgers, then split 2003 between the Padres, Yankees, and Twins in his age 46 season, his last before retiring in January 2004. Only 5 players have pitched in more seasons than Orosco, who totaled 1,295 and 1/3 innings with a 3.61 ERA and 1.26 WHIP in his career. You got another 47?
Yeah, you're not going to believe this. I got Chuck McElroy.
No way.
Yeah. He was born on October 1st, 1967 in Galveston, Texas. He is enshrined in the Museum of the Gulf Coast. As a senior at Lincoln High School in 1986, he set the school record for strikeouts in a season with 238. This led to him being drafted by the Phillies in the same year. He had a 13-year career from 1989 through 2001, playing with the Phillies, Cubs, Reds, Angels, White Sox, Rockies, Mets, Orioles, and Padres as a southpaw out of the bullpen. He was traded a whopping 7 times in 12 seasons. The Orioles traded fellow number 47 Jesse Orosco to the Mets prior to the 2000 seasons. He'd make 61 appearances for the O's before being released on July 19th, 2001. He'd sign as a free agent with the Padres 10 days later to finish out his career. He has 2 sons who tried their hands at the family craft as well. C.J. McElroy was drafted by the Cardinals in 2011, and the Reds selected Satchel McElroy in 2015. Neither of whom were pitchers. And since his playing career ended, he became a Little League coach in the Houston area, where he coached friend of the podcast, Corey Jolks. Yeah, Chuck McElroy. I like the name
Wow.
Satchel McElroy.
That is a good name. That's very funny. I wonder how many times a guy has taken the number of the dude he was traded for, because looking at Baseball Reference, he was not wearing 47 anywhere else. So I wonder if he was like, screw it, I'll just take Orosco's number.
Yeah, since he was replacing him on the roster and in the same role.
That's very interesting. What are the
Chuck
chances?
McElroy.
Unless you looked it up and were like, oh, this guy's related to Jesse Orosco, and I bet Ryan's going to choose him.
I think I did think you were going to take Orosco, so I went with McElroy.
Yeah, I mean, for anybody who doesn't know how this works, there's no rhyme or reason, but I generally just look at Baseball Reference and who wears what number, and then find a guy who was either there for a while or is an interesting person to talk about, and that's about it.
I think I get my jersey number from the Baseball Almanac page.
Yeah, we talked a couple episodes ago how one of them wasn't listed on both, but you found a photo. Was it Dave Duncan?
Yeah, Dave Duncan. I found photo evidence to back up my claim that he wore the number 44.
Yeah,
I was worried,
but he
though.
wasn't listed on Baseball Reference. It was weird. I don't know who's wrong. I mean, well, I guess Baseball Reference must be wrong.
Yeah, we're going to have to send them a stern email to get Dave Duncan added to their number 44 list.
Yeah, we should.
The shared mailback is getting a featured presentation this week. It's bumped up to the opening slot.
All right, let's have at it.
So on April 6th, Orioles fan Nick asks, where would we be without Danny Coulombe? And, Orioles fan Nick, we're all about to find out together because Danny Coulombe has been placed on the injured list with some elbow inflammation.
Yes, that is true. That is unfortunate. Every time CNL Perez comes into the game, it scares me. Same with Keegan Aiken. Now we've got Nick Vespi, who might be better than them. I don't know.
Yeah, the jury's still out on Vespi. He keeps getting dicked around.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the lefty situation? It wasn't good even with Coulombe, just because I think the two behind him kind of stink.
Yeah, if we were doing, I have this noted later, but I might as well mention it now. If we were doing power rankings of the roster, like the 26-man roster, CNL Perez would be near the bottom for me, and he's been there for about a year now. He drives me crazy because when he's good, he's on, but they're always going to be chasing 2022. That ship has sailed. He's not that guy anymore.
Yeah, I think that's something about sports. So you can make a lot of money off of one good season, and I think he's still doing that.
That's like a band that can tour off one hit 30 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this Coulombe news. I wasn't too concerned when I saw the news, but then that concerned me that I wasn't concerned. Because he's probably their best reliever this season. I shudder to think where they would be without him. Elbow inflammation is the scariest words a pitcher can hear.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think him or Cano is probably the best right now, and which is how it was last year too, and minus Bautista. So yeah, it's never good, especially when you have no other good lefty options. I just hope he comes back, and that's all I can say, I guess.
Yeah, there's really no reason for us to speculate what it will be.
No, these elbows are killing him this year, though.
I guess we'll just hold our breath and hope we hear he's throwing again in the next week or so.
Right. Or they'll pull a Tyler Wells and he'll just do nothing for a month and be like, oh, he needs Tommy John. Like, why didn't you figure that out earlier?
That's the thing. I think if we don't hear something in like the next 10 days, my panic meter will explode at that point.
Right. To hear that he's like throwing or doing something at least.
But I guess on the plus side, this is Nick Vespi's time to shine. He's going to get that chance that he's been waiting for and he's earned.
Yeah, he looked solid today until he walked the first batter on 4 pitches in the next inning and he got yanked. But I think it was the 8th he threw. It looked good.
There was 3 up and 3 down with the roster this week. In is Brian Baker, Vespi, and Mateo is back. And then out is Bradish. We'll get to him later. Coulombe, and then Connor Norby got sent down. I guess the good news for Norby is he's now on the 40-man roster, so if he is to come back, the path is way easier for him. Were you surprised he was the one that got sent down?
I guess a little. I mean, I had said I thought it might be Stowers, but I'm also dumb, so I wasn't really surprised that I was wrong. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I can't say I was surprised. I was disappointed, though. I think it should have been Stowers. And Stowers seems to be regressing at a rapid clip.
Yeah, I agree.
It seems like he got called up at the right time, and now maybe he can coast off that for a while. But yeah, this is Norby. Norby's ready to go. Norby's a better player than Stowers. I have no doubts about saying that whatsoever.
I'll take your word for it, seeing them both in Norfolk. I don't really know any better.
Yeah, I have Stowers pegged as a 4A guy. I know I've said that a million times.
We shall see.
So the trade deadline, it feels to me like it's the same as last year, where the team needs a starter and a reliever, and that directly coincides with Bradish and Coulombe's injuries.
Right.
I don't see any need to add any position players, do you?
I don't. I keep reading these national articles about them adding a right-handed outfielder. I'm like, that's just so specific. I don't see why that's a priority,
No,
it's clearly pitching.
Yeah, anything they need, they have in Norfolk ready to go. And maybe I'm a prospect hugger now, but to me, these last few years of Orioles prospects, they're different than the previous groups of minor leaguers I've seen come through Norfolk. To me, the untouchables should be Kjerstad, Holliday, Mayo, and Basayo. And Kjerstad, just because I do not think Santander is coming back. If they feel like they can resign Santander, fine, do what you want because there's no spot for Kerstad at that point. But I, yeah, I wouldn't trade any of those guys. Basayo's still so young that you don't even have to worry about him for 3 or 4 more years if you don't want to. You could just keep him parked down in the minor leagues.
Right. I mean, there's two angles to that. There's one where like, oh, he's a catcher and he's blocked by Agley, which, like you said, catchers generally aren't ready for a while anyways. But if he has to move off catcher, I would imagine the most likely position is first base, and Mountcastle's there. And again, there's no rush to bring him up in that regard either. I think one thing I would wonder about is if they're overvaluing any pitchers that they might have, which is not many, but a guy like Chase McDermott or Seth Johnson, who, because their pickings are slim already in the organization, would they consider those guys not untouchable, but a little more difficult to pry away from them just because of the lack of organizational depth?
Yeah, at that point, I think you'd be trading for the immediacy of someone that could contribute. Justin Armbruster, I've heard his name mentioned before. He's not good. If someone tells you Justin Armbruster should be brought up, they are not watching the Tides. That guy sucks.
All right. Well, if he ever makes it to the O's, we'll have to hold you to that. See if you're right.
I'm going on record with that. I'd hate to see Norby get traded, but it does feel like a developing Joey Ortiz situation.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of the second and third base situations. And I think the most logical answer is, Holliday comes up and plays second at some point, and Westbrook plays third. So I guess he would still be blocked in that regard.
And then if Urias would leave for any reason, I could see Mateo playing some third base and being good at it if they wanted to make him play that super utility role that they had him pegged for going into the season. At this point, I don't think Mateo can't not do anything.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, third base is a little different if you've never played it. I mean, I'm sure he has at some level at some point, but just the ball gets on you so much quicker there and the throw is further. But he's a major league player and is clearly talented, so he could figure it out.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't be pretty for a little while, but I think he could learn it if they gave him the opportunity to. Did you hear what one of Joey Ortiz's Brewers teammates said about him last night? He called him generational.
I did, and I think I was happy to hear that in a way. I think it's good to see a teammate pumping his teammates' tires, and I think it means the Brewers and the Orioles are both happy with what they got.
Yeah, to me, Ortiz is always going to be the one who got away. The response from some Orioles fans, I thought, was just short-sighted because they all responded, where was he going to play anyway? He was blocked. But that doesn't matter to me. That doesn't make Joey Ortiz any less valuable. And I'm not going to say the Orioles made a mistake by trading Joey Ortiz for Corbin Burns, but I will say that Joey Ortiz did not get a fair look from the Orioles.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
There were plenty of opportunities for him to play last year, and they just didn't do it. Mateo was struggling from May through September. Adam Frazier was on the roster. We both like Adam Frazier, but at the same time, like, everybody knew he wasn't part of the future.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking ahead to this season, if they had never made the Burns trade or had traded somebody else for him, he would have been a perfectly logical person to put at second base rather than moving up Holliday so quickly.
Yeah, or put Mateo there, because to me, Mateo was not logical at second base until I saw it. And even then, it took a month.
Right.
But you could have played Ortiz some at third base last season, too, while Gunnar was struggling. I'm not saying totally replace him, but, I mean, if you wanted to give Gunnar a day or two off last season earlier in the year, I don't think that could have been disputed.
Yeah, I'm pulling up Ortiz's numbers now because I haven't really kept track of him much this year. And as of today, I don't think it includes Sunday games if he's already played. But he's made 47 starts at third base, 4 at second base, and none at short, but he's gotten put in there for a few innings. So he's decidedly a third baseman right now, at least for Milwaukee. And He's got a 853 OPS. He seems to be doing well. He's got 31 strikeouts and 28 walks, so he's clearly doing well, and the Orioles got Corbin Burns out of it. Like, I have no problem with that.
Yeah. I think Ortiz will be playing shortstop once they move off Adames after this season. Yeah, I think some of the response from Orioles fans to Joey Ortiz, I think they undervalued him, and now that they see him doing well, they don't want to admit that like they might have been wrong about him.
Right. Actually, while we're speaking about Joey Ortiz, I thought it was interesting. I was looking up Bradish the other day, and it said he was drafted in the 4th round out of New Mexico State, and I thought that was interesting because I knew New Mexico State was familiar, and then I realized it was because in the next year in the 4th round, the Orioles selected Joey Ortiz out of New Mexico State. So obviously Bradish was drafted by the Angels and not the Orioles, but they had that little connection there.
So Jackson Holliday was placed on the injured list with some elbow inflammation. Is this something we should worry about?
For a second baseman, no.
Elias.
Oh, I think.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about it, especially for the 2024 Orioles. Elias was in the booth though the night, I think it was Friday night. I don't know which night, but he said he still expects Holliday to contribute to the season to Orioles. I don't believe that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you probably don't hear very often about a second baseman having elbow issues. I'm not really sure how that came about, but I don't know if he did something to it specifically or if he's somehow overusing it, making that short throw. Not really sure.
It seemed to come out of nowhere. My buddy went to the Tides game today for Father's Day. It was his first game he'd been to this year. And all season, he's like, I got to go see Jackson Holliday. Then he goes today, and he's like, what the fuck? Why isn't Jackson Holliday in live? I had to text him like, oh, yeah, he got hurt.
Yeah. That reminds me of the time I went to see Connor McDavid play in juniors in Niagara Falls, and he had broken his hand like a week before, so I didn't actually get to see him play then.
How did they score 8 goals last night? Can they come back in this thing?
I think they're still toast, but I think it was a combination of the Panthers kind of mailing it in a little once they got down like 5-1, and the Orioles having the Oilers, the Edmonton Orioles. Yeah, they had a lot of momentum, and we'll see.
So my buddy went to Harbor Park today, like I just said. He did get to see Dean Kramer make his rehab start versus the Memphis Redbirds. Did you see the line on him?
No, I hope it's better than most of Means' rehab starts.
I watched part of the game. It happened to actually be on TV, which they don't do too often down here.
Mm-hmm.
So in between innings of the Orioles game, I would flip over to the Tides game. 4 hits, 3 2/3, 5 runs, but only 2 earned. So he got that AAA defense behind him.
Or the Orioles defense of last week.
1 walk, 3 strikeouts, 59 pitches, 37 strikes. I'm curious to give him another start or not. 60 pitches, I have to think they will make him make at least one more rehab start.
Yeah, those numbers aren't great, but just chalk it up to rehab, I guess.
Then the Orioles claimed Levi Stout off waivers from the Mariners. You know anything about this guy?
I do not. It sounds kind of like Levi Strauss, like the jeans.
Ooh, another jersey sponsor.
There you go.
Yeah, he's 26 years old, drafted by the Mariners in the 3rd round of the 2019 draft. Seattle traded him to the Reds at the 2022 trade deadline with 3 other minor leaguers for Luis Castillo. Seattle then reacquired him in February of this year after the Reds waived him prior to spring training. He has 4 games of major league experience, 2 of those being starts, all coming last year in 2023 with the Reds. Then this year, 11 earned runs, 10 1/3, 8 walks, 16 hits, which is a 2.323 whip. Oh, that was last year with the Reds. And then this year with Tacoma, 12 games, 11 starts, 3-4, a 6.92 ERA.
Yeah, his numbers are pretty horrible. He's not very big. He was a 3rd round pick, Lehigh University. Got to give them a shout out. Friend went there. We've talked about Bethlehem before on here. Yeah, doesn't seem that good. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, AAA depth. Those numbers are shockingly bad. So again, tell me
They really
how
are.
they didn't mess up the Mike Bauman DFA.
Right. He managed to be worth negative 0.3 WAR in just 10 and a third innings. That's impressive.
Oof. So if we see him, something terrible happened. And then in this week's news of this is why we can't have nice things, this hasn't gotten a lot of news at all. New Era has acquired the 47 brand hats. Have you seen that?
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I think anytime you have less companies making certain products, the quality usually suffers and prices might go up.
Yeah, I have a couple 47 brands. Usually what I wear is the New Era 5950s, but I have a few 47 brands. They're damn good hats. And I think if you are a 47 brand guy, you should be worried. Your hats are probably going to become more New Era-y than you would prefer.
Yeah, I have a bunch of the, like, what do they call them? Like dad hats, the 47 brand. I like those. But I also have a couple that are made by New Era in that style that are pretty similar. So I wouldn't expect those to change a lot. But what do I know?
Yeah, competition is a good thing, and this is just less competition for New Era. This is like EA Sports buying up the NFL license and then just totally mailing it in for 20 years on their Madden game.
Right. No, that's true.
Do you have anything before we get into the game recaps?
No, I don't think so. Let's go for it.
All right, so we start with game number 65 Monday. We have to finish up the Rays series. There's still the fourth game.
Yeah, this is the only series all season in which they don't play a new opponent on a Monday. So it's a weird scheduling quirk.
Yeah, that works out pretty well for our recording schedule.
Yeah.
So this saw Corbin Burns versus Ryan Pepio. And in the top of the first, Gunnar would take the first pitch of the game from Pepio deep to straightaway center field for his 21st home run of the season. That's $500 for Gregory Evans of Baltimore to spend at birdlandsports.com.
Yeah, Gunnar got the O's off to a good lead, and then Burns had another rough beginning to his start, though, throwing 30 pitches in the first inning. With 2 outs in the second, Jordan Westberg flat out dropped an easy pop-up, and then the light-hitting catcher Alex Jackson hit one 431 feet off of Burns for a 2-1 Rays lead.
Yeah, this was Alex Jackson's first long ball since August 2021 off of Don Winkler of the Cubs.
Related to Henry, I bet.
He was a high draft pick, wasn't he, Alex Jackson?
Yeah, he was. On the season, though, he was 2 for 46 with 1 single and 1 double, with 25 strikeouts, 2 walks, and a 147 OPS. And then he hit a homer off Burns.
Wow. So that took us to the top of the third, where James McCann, he tied it up with a solo shot. Gregory Evans is now up to $1,000 for the day, and the game is tied at 2. At this point, we were all wondering if James McCann is Corbin Burns' personal catcher or not, but Adley caught him today. So does that squash that rumor?
I don't know. That was interesting to me. But, you know, speaking of catchers hitting home runs, though, McCann entered this game with 1 homer and a 485 OPS. So, I don't know. It's like the solar eclipse happened this year, and Alex Jackson and James McCann both homered in the same game.
Yeah, McCann seemed much better from the plate last year, and that's saying a lot because he wasn't good batting last year either.
Yeah, I feel like he started off decently this year and has just gradually gotten worse. I'm going to look up the numbers to see if that bears out.
Yeah, he seems like an automatic out.
Kind of.
But it's on the Mets' dime, so anything he does is good.
That is true. Baltimore added 2 more in the 5th with O'Hearn at the plate after singles by McCann and Henderson. O'Hearn doubled down the right field line to score both, and it was 4-2 Orioles.
O'Hearn would have a 2-strike RBI scoring Gunnar in the top of the 7th. He was batting .275 with 2 strikes on the season. He had 2 more of those hits in this game as the O's would win 5-2.
I pulled up those McCann numbers. So in April and March, he had a 660 OPS. The month of May, he had a 286 OPS. And in June, he's up to a 654 OPS so far. So May kind of cratered his overall stat line, and maybe he's about a 650, 660 OPS guy, which is about where he's been at this month at least.
Yeah, that's good for a backup catcher.
I don't know about good. It's acceptable, I would say.
Right. Yeah. I did give out 3 stars. The third star is Ryan O'Hearn, 3 for 4, 3 RBI. We don't call him Ryan O RBI for nothing.
It's true.
Gunnar Henderson, the second star. He set the tone for the game on the first pitch, and he was a triple shy of the cycle. He scored 3 runs for the second consecutive game. At this point, he had a 19-game on base streak where he was hitting .296 with 20 runs scored and a 1.05 OPS. And the first star is Corbin Burns, 7 innings pitched for the third start in a row. At this point, it just feels like he was just like trying to shut Orioles fans up from the 6 innings thing. Like he's just showing off now. He only threw 92 pitches, 2 runs allowed, both of them were unearned. Burns is the 11th pitcher in Orioles history with at least 9 straight quality starts. The most recent was Bedard in 2007, and Palmer holds the record with 12 for 1975.
Wow. 12 in a row.
Which
The
would be
reason
10
he's in the
today.
Hall of Fame, I guess.
Yeah, 10 today for Burns, spoiler alert.
Yeah, that's true.
So do you got a Braves preview?
I do. So after this weird Monday game, the O's returned home to host the Atlanta Braves, who came to Baltimore with a 35-28 record, a healthy 9 games behind the Phillies in the NL East. Atlanta had been solid but not spectacular both offensively and defensively this season, which is surely impacted by injuries to stars Ronald Acuna Jr. and Spencer Strider. Marcelo Zuna, noted domestic abuser, has had an excellent season to carry their offense, hitting 9 more home runs and driving in 19 more than any teammate before this series. And the Braves have a strong bullpen to supplement some good starting pitching from Max Fried and former White Sox Reynaldo Lopez and Chris Sale, who I have to admit I thought was completely done when he was in Boston.
I agree. I thought he was done also. The Braves have a way of getting the most out of guys.
They're a good team. They're run well. They get guys on good contracts. They're consistently one of the better teams of the past, got at least 5 years, I would say, at this point.
Yeah, even going back to the 90s, too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, when they were down, it wasn't for long. So this picks up at the top of the first. Michael Harris would hit a leadoff triple, but he'd end up stranded at third base as Suarez would get out of the jam.
And the O's got to Max Fried in the second inning after Santander walked and Hayes singled to bring up Mateo, who was returning from his stint on the concussion IL. He hit a hanging curveball into the Orioles bullpen for a 3-0 lead.
Yeah, it was good to see Mateo pick up where he left off. I did have some concerns about him getting off track with the injured list stint.
Right. I mean, that was a bad pitch, but it was nice to see him do what he should with it.
That was basically all the Orioles would need as they get their 44th victory in 66 games. Before the home run, Mateo was 1 for 6 with 3 strikeouts against Fried. The Orioles would pick up an insurance run on an Austin Hayes RBI single for the 4-0 Orioles victory.
Yeah, this game was interesting to me because Gunnar had the night off, and he usually doesn't. McCann was catching on consecutive days for the first time in 2 months. I went back and looked at the numbers. He had caught successive games twice, both in April, and the O's went 0-4 in those 4 games. So this time it was 2-0.
And Jim Palmer and Kevin Brown were back after 21 games away from broadcast. Jim Palmer made a subtle reference to Kevin Brown's suspensions last season when mentioning the Orioles' recent dominance over Tampa. I forgot to mention during that Tampa series, the Orioles outscored the Rays 25-7.
Yeah, the Rays are looking rough right now.
Yeah, that was a fun clip. I love Jim Palmer.
That was very funny. He knew exactly what he was saying. You could tell Kevin Brown just wanted to start laughing out loud.
This was the 33rd shutout since 2022, which is tied with the Braves for 4th most in baseball. It's one behind the Mariners, 34 for second, and the Padres have 35. The Dodgers are at 36. So it's like a cluster of pretty good teams other than the Padres.
Yeah, honestly, if you asked me, I probably wouldn't have guessed that the O's are top 5 in shutouts over the last couple years.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that. That's probably just scars of bad pitching over the years.
Right. It's like, that's not possible. They don't have the pitchers for that.
Yeah, they can't do that. I've seen too many. I'm trying to think of an Orioles pitcher not named Corbin Burns. I've seen too many
Steve
Thomas Eshelman
Johnson's.
starts. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Third star, Austin Hayes, 3 for 4, 1 run, 1 RBI. His average is up to 234. This was a long journey, but his average is officially higher than Colton Cowser's at this point, which is pretty stunning.
Yeah, it is.
Since returning from the injured list, he's hitting 357 with a .969 OPS in 11 games. It's good to see him back. Albert Suarez, 5 1/3, 4 hits, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, a season high 97 pitches, 60 strikes. This guy is a wonder. I don't even know what to say about him. It's like he's an enigma.
Yeah, he's kind of a magician out there. It's like he doesn't often look very good, but he just kind of gets his way out and usually doesn't allow many runs.
And he's in control when he's out there. He never looks panicked. He looks cool as hell.
Right. It probably
It's like
comes with pitching forever and playing in a million different leagues. He's like, I've been here. I've been in worse situations.
Yeah, he's been pitching for his life for 7 years, basically.
They had his kids on the Father's Day montage today, and one of his kids is like a full-blown teenager. I was like, damn, that guy is old.
Somebody will probably try and sign him.
It was a girl, but who knows? Maybe she has a good arm.
Hey, maybe she'll be the first female baseball player.
Yeah.
In the major leagues.
Yes.
The third star of the game is the Rowe Price patch. What do you think of this thing?
I'm fine with it. I don't, it was inevitable. When the Yankees have a patch and the Dodgers have a patch, the Orioles are going to get one.
Yeah, if you were surprised by this, you were not paying attention for the past couple of years. I don't know how you missed this coming. And if the Yankees do a lot of bad shit, but the one thing they do that is very respectable is not fuck around with their uniforms. They're the only team that sat out of the City Connect program. That deserves a hats off from me. You avoided that monstrosity.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, it'd be great if it was orange or black. And it's like, yeah, but that's not the point of advertising. That defeats the purpose entirely.
Yeah, once the Yankees got a patch, it gave every other team permission to get one. And get ready, folks, because the batting helmets are next. They had the ads on the batting helmets in the London series between the Phillies and the Mets. They had a Zoom ad. They're coming. I'd say less than 2 years, batting helmet ads are coming.
I'm not saying I like it, but I really find it hard to even notice them unless I'm actively looking for them.
Yeah. They suck. I'm not happy about them. If it were up to me, they wouldn't. No sport would have them. But I mean, this is 2024. It's amazing. It's amazing the games aren't played between the Ford Motor Company and Chevron.
That's how it is in other countries.
Yeah.
Did you see, actually, this reminds me, I read an article the other day that apparently Allstate Insurance reached out to the Big 12 conference about like sponsoring the name. And they said two proposed names. One was the Allstate 12 and the other was the Big Allstate, which is hilarious to me.
It's happening. It's going to happen. There's no way around it. It might not be in our lifetime, but it's going to happen. I have no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Every bowl game is named after a sponsor.
I mean, the most popular sport in the world is soccer by far, and all the club teams have a big ad right in the middle of their chest, and people wear those jerseys all over the place.
Yep.
So they got over it. Baseball fans will be fine.
Yep, we're all whores.
Yeah.
So game 67, Wednesday, June 12th. This was Spencer Schwellenbach versus Cade Povich, their former college teammates at Nebraska. I don't know if they did this on purpose, but lining up Povich versus a fellow rookie, that worked out extremely well. And if they did do it on purpose, great job.
It is an interesting matchup as far as experience levels. Povich was making his second start, and Schwellenbach was making his third. I don't know when you're going to find a matchup of two pitchers in a regular season game with less starts combined between the two of them.
I started Schwellenbach in my fantasy league on this day. I was glad I did. He looked pretty good.
Well, that was a bold move. Yeah, per Steve Molesky, he was a two-way player at Nebraska. He and Povich were on the team together there in 2020 and 21. Schwellenbach was both a starting shortstop and then a closer sometimes. So he really changed positions going to the major leagues.
So we start off in the bottom of the third. Mullins would lead off with a double. Mateo would single and steal second. So right away, young Schwellenbach is in trouble with the two best base runners on the team on base, with Gunnar coming up. But Henderson would ground out to first. Mullins would easily come in to put the Orioles up 1-0.
Up next was Adley Rutschman. He hit a harder grounder this time at Matt Olson. Mateo was running on contact, and Olson's throw skipped past Sean Murphy at home, and Mateo scored to make it 2-0.
Yeah, Adley is batting .418 with runners in scoring position, which is second in Major League Baseball. The average is .253.
It's very impressive. Even though this technically wasn't a hit, he still scored a run.
Right. Okay, he put the bat on the ball. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, there you go.
O'Hearn would ground into a double play, though, to end the inning. The Orioles could have scored more there. And then I jumped to the top of the eighth here. Cowser would replace O'Hearn in right field. Aiken is pitching. Albie starts the inning with a single. Ozuna strikes out looking. He's not happy with the call, which was hilarious. And Matt Olson is up now. So we get the lefty on lefty matchup, and Aiken just throws a meatball that Olson hits 423 feet off of the warehouse.
That was an absolute meatball. And Matt Olson hasn't been great this year, but he hit over 50 homers last year. And even though you're lefty on lefty, you can't be giving him that pitch.
What is up with Aiken not being able to get lefties out? This is probably the most disturbing small fact of the season. That's his one job, if you really think about it.
It certainly should be his one job, but yeah, his splits against righties and lefties he's worse against lefties. It does happen. There are pitchers with reverse splits, but I don't know why you would have one of those in your bullpen. I guess if there's a starter who's going 6 innings, it doesn't matter so much, but what are you bringing a lefty reliever for if he can't get lefties out?
And we know how much Hyde loves matchups, so he's just going to default to bringing in the lefty to face the lefty. And every time he seems surprised post-game when they ask him, hey, what happened to Keegan Aiken out there? Why'd he get lit up by the lefties again? Have you seen his quotes talking to Aiken this year? They haven't been, nice.
Yeah, I guess they probably looked at Olson and thought, well, he's definitely worse against lefties, so maybe his struggles against lefties will outweigh Aiken's struggles to get them out. But now that I say that, I'm looking at Olson's splits, and he's actually good against lefties too. So that was just a straight-up dumb move.
And that's the thing, though, too, because you can always talk yourself into that if you're looking at the lefty batters' numbers. You're like, oh, he's worse against lefties. Keegan's going to do it this time. And every time it's right. What happened?
No, I should have researched this before I said it, because pulling up Matt Olson now, he has an .893 OPS against lefties in 94 plate appearances, and a .744 against righties in 194. So he's hit over twice as much against righties, but he's hitting better against lefties this year.
That is a surprise how far he's fallen off this year compared to last year.
Yeah, Acuna hasn't been out long. I was going to blame a little bit on that, but, he was struggling for a while even with him. He also never hit more than 39 before last season, so I think 54, probably safe to say that was an aberration at this point.
Right. It makes the Freddie Freeman thing leaving look worse now that it looks like Olson's 1 year was going to be a one-time thing and not the length of the contract they gave him.
Yeah. We'll see. He still has time to turn around. I mean, he's a very good player. He's one of the top, 5-ish first basemen, I would say. But either way, the Braves are fine with him, fine without him.
So that brings us to the bottom of the eighth. Rutschman would strike out looking for the first out. Matt Castle reached on an infield single. Cowser's first pitch swinging in his first at-bat of the game. Michael Harris almost made the catch of the year, but he can't haul it in. And then after that, we get Kimbrel's 16th save of the season. The Orioles win 4-2.
Cowser hit the first home run of the season off of Joe Jimenez, guy I had never heard of. And it was also Cowser's first home run in 15 games. He entered the game hitting 174 with a 494 OPS since his last home run. So he had not been hitting very well and just got his pitch and made him pay.
Yeah, Kimbrel moved into third place all time on the strikeouts by a reliever leaderboard. He passed Lee Smith. Next up are Goose Gossage and Hoyt Wilhelm. Kimbrel is at 1227. Goose is at 1340. And Wilhelm is at 1363. Do you think he can catch them? He's about...
I don't know.
I know. He's
Depends
about 100.
how much back tightness he has this year.
He's about 100 behind Goose and 120 behind Wilhelm. I think he could do it. He's going to play next year, I would think.
Yeah, we'll see. I think we've both said, I think you brought it up originally, like, if Bautista comes back and they decide to pay Kimbrel, that'd be pretty sweet to have him again next year.
That's something I saw when next year's roster was being discussed, that the Orioles, assuming Burns, Kimbrel, and Santander all walk after the season, those are like their 3 highest paid players. You would free up all that money for
new highest paid players.
Right, yeah. But
preferably young ones who will be highest paid for a long time.
That's the thing, like it would be tough to lose those 3. But that money could go pretty far towards extensions.
Hey, Rowe Price, I don't know what they're paying, but if they use that money on the baseball team, they can cover them with ads. I don't care. Just win.
Westberg had the night off here. He made a couple errors at second base recently. I wrote this note back then. That didn't even count today. He was probably going to get the night off anyway since Gunnar had the previous game off, but this seemed to come at a good time. Is he just not as good at second base as we want him to be? He's just a better third baseman?
Probably. All his errors have been going to his left, I've noticed. Like 2 ground balls and a pop-up, all been moving to his left, and I don't know if he doesn't track the ball well or thinks he has less time than he does. I can see playing third and second. I mentioned earlier about how third base, the ball just gets on you quicker and it's just a different position. And I wonder if he gets to second base and thinks he has to rush everything because he knows he's further away and the ball's getting to him later. I have no idea.
Urias is always at third when Westberg's at second.
Mm-hmm.
We know Urias is pretty good at second. I'm wondering if they should just put Urias at second and Westberg at third when they want to get them both in the lineup.
They could.
If he's going to keep making errors like this.
Right. Let me look up how much Urias has played second base this year. I feel like it hasn't been a lot. Yeah. Because I'm wondering, we've talked about how he's pretty slow, and you do have to move better at second base than at third. He made 15 starts at second base last year and has yet to play any second base this season.
Yeah, Mateo's played way more second base than I ever thought he would going into the season.
Yeah. He did have positive defensive metrics at second base last year in a pretty small sample size, so he's not bad at it, that's for sure.
So that might be something to keep an eye on. 3 stars. Cade Povich, number 1. If he keeps pitching like this, it's going to be hard to justify removing him from the rotation. 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, no runs, 6 Ks, no walks, 16 of 24 first pitch strikes. He should have had his first career win, but Keegan Aiken exists, so that took that from him. Yeah, he's in the rotation now, right? This was pre-Bradish injury.
I think so. I mean, you can't not give him another chance after that last game. He reduced his walks from 4 to 0. Same amount of hits. So I think that was a huge part of it. He also struck out 4 more than his previous start. So showing that improvement against a still good team, I don't It's like I said about Irvin earlier this year. He's been pitching so well, you couldn't remove him from the rotation. And at this point, with all the injuries they've had, I don't know how you just ditch Povich.
Yeah, this was the first time the Braves have lost 5 straight since 2017. Colton Cowser, second star for the game-winning 2-run home run. And then the third star is Mike Elias's tie. Did you see that? It had a bunch of Orioles faces on it.
I did. I don't know where he got that. Did
Yeah, is
they
that
say?
custom? No, I don't know. Is
I
it for
would
sale on the
imagine
team
he
store?
didn't have that made. That would be kind of weird if he made that himself. I would hope somebody like gave that to him as a joke, and he was like, "I'll just wear this for fun."
What if that was a Father's Day gift? Like all the Orioles are his kids.
Well, it didn't have everybody on it. It was like the guys who are firmly on the roster. Because it'd be weird if you had a guy's face, then you like DFA'd him the next day.
Oh, that'd be a bummer if you found out you weren't on the tie, and then you're just like, oh no, he doesn't love me as much as he loves.
Right. But also, if there was like if Tiago Vieira showed up on his tie, then he was like, "You're gone. You're terrible."
What if when someone's removed from the roster, he takes an X with a Sharpie and just crosses them out?
Well, did you see? It was either today or yesterday. They didn't they give him an ascot in the broadcast booth
Oh, I did see that.
of the same
Yeah.
pattern?
Yeah, that's when he was in the booth talking about Holiday.
Yeah. Okay. So it was
I saw
Friday.
Vieira's numbers with the Diamondbacks. He was way more improved than he was with the Orioles.
Well, good for him.
So that's it for Wednesday's game. On to Thursday. Reynaldo Lopez versus Cole Irvin. Reynaldo Lopez 3-2 with a 1.85 ERA, and he backed that up with his start. This game was not enjoyable if you were an Orioles fan.
No, and Lopez has been really good, and that was after being a reliever for a long time. He went from being a starter back to the bullpen for a good chunk, and his last start before this season was one in 2022. So he's been very impressive.
And I hope the Braves didn't show the league something here. They came out swinging against Cole Irvin. Michael Harris swung at the first pitch for a single. Ozzie Albies doubled on the first pitch he saw. Albies came into the game 4 for 6 with 2 doubles, 3 RBI versus Cole Irvin. Ozuna was also swinging at the first pitch, except he'd foul it off. He would double on the next pitch, scoring 2 runs. That made it 2-0 Atlanta. I don't like that, though. I don't want to think that, as much as we're all enjoying watching Cole Irvin pitch this season, you do wonder if it's borrowed time or not.
You got to think they're strategizing his pitching, though, just like they would their hitting game plan against him.
So, bottom first, Gunnar would lead off with a single. He'd steal his 9th base in 9 tries. How many stolen bases do you think Gunnar can get this year? Do you think he'll get to 20?
I'm going to say no, just because towards the end of the year, they won't want him running so much. They'll want to preserve him and his body for the playoffs.
Braves would add a unearned run on a Gunnar Henderson ball that Mateo made a nice play on. I'm not entirely sure that the error should have been on Mateo. I thought it should have been on Gunnar.
I think both of the errors charged to the Orioles this game could have gone to either guy. Like 4 players kind of fucked up on both those plays.
Yeah, this game was not good. Top 6, RCA would double in Kelnick. Is that how you say his name?
I believe
Jared
so.
Kelnick. Failed prospect, right?
Yeah, I don't know if he's failed at this point, but he was super hyped and hasn't lived up to it, that's for sure.
Yeah, I guess if you can carve out a nice career, you're not failed, but you're definitely not where you were pegged to be.
I believe he went from the Mets to the Mariners in the Robinson Cano Edwin Diaz trade.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he did. Yeah. And then clearly Seattle had enough of him.
Yeah, 4-0 Atlanta after this. Bottom 7, the Orioles were quiet until Kyle Stowers hit a 3-run homer to pull the Orioles within 1 to make it 4-3. And top 9, CNL Perez came in for a messy inning. O'Hearn made an error. There was a wild pitch that gave the Braves 2 more insurance runs. And Iglesias pitched the 9th for his 17th save. The Orioles' 6-game winning streak was snapped, and the Braves' 5-game losing streak also ended.
is not a good game for the O's. Those two errors, that second one in the ninth, it did seem like they kind of had a chance. They got within a run, and then they just completely botched it and let the Braves put the nail in the coffin there. Brian Baker made his return, though.
He did. He looked really good in 1 2/3. I think he has a real opportunity to reclaim his job with Bauman gone, Coulombe possibly out. His ERA at one point with the Tides was over 20 this season. He got it down to under 6 or
I
at
guess that's
6.
good.
Yeah. I remember we both really enjoyed watching him pitch early last season. There is something there. It just seems like he doesn't get it done more often than not. So it'll be interesting to see if he can take advantage of this opportunity or not.
It seemed like he got tired last year because the first couple of months he was electric. He was very good and he was exciting.
Yeah, he's very confident in his stuff.
Maybe just having been down in the minors might have saved his arm a little this year. I don't know.
Yeah, he's going to get chances. Wells is out. He's not coming back. Heasley, I don't think they like him at all. They do. I don't think they want to bring him
I don't
back. He's been
either.
starting in Norfolk lately, so I'm wondering if this is. They're like, let's see if you could start Jonathan Heasley, so we can see if you're even serviceable, making like a spot start in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Irvin's 9 hits allowed were his most since September 29th, 2022 against the Angels when he was with the A's.
You got 3 stars?
I do not have 3 stars, but the Orioles were 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. The Braves were 3 for 16, so this could have been a real beatdown.
Yeah, I think if you gave a first star, it would have to go to Reynaldo Lopez. He ended up with 6 innings, no runs allowed, on 2 hits, 1 walk, and 8 strikeouts. And I was listening to the broadcast, and they were saying I was listening to the radio call, I should say, and they were talking a little bit about Lopez's story. And I didn't realize, I guess, when he was younger, he just completely quit baseball when he was, I think they said like 11 or 12 or very young, and just focused on school and like finished high school and stuff I think they say he's from the Dominican Republic. And then after that, he went back to baseball and started training again. And the Nationals signed him for some tiny amount, like $17,000 or something, and just like a complete lottery ticket. And he not only made the majors, but is suddenly leading the league in ERA.
He's an Albert Suarez type, if you will.
Yeah, I guess. In a way, he is.
Speaking of leading the league in ERA, that takes us to Phillies on Friday versus the Orioles. They had to face Ranger Suarez, who's 10-1 with a 1.81 ERA. You got a Phillies preview?
Yeah, Philly entered this series with the second best record in baseball, 1.5 games behind the Yankees and 1 game ahead of the Orioles. The Phillies were scoring 5.07 runs per game to Baltimore's 5.1, which are the top 2 marks in the league. Philly was allowing 3.56 runs per game to Baltimore's 3.53, ranking fourth and third, respectively. Their offensive leaders have been the usual suspects in Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber, though they're currently without the injured Trey Turner and JT Realmuto. And their starting pitching this year has just been ridiculous, led by the aforementioned Ranger Suarez, 1.81 ERA. Zach Wheeler had a 2.16. Next is Christopher Sanchez, who I've never heard of, with a 3.07 ERA, and Aaron Nola fourth in their rotation at 3.48. So they've just been really good at scoring and not allowing a lot of runs, very similar to the O's.
Yeah, this was a heavyweight matchup. The Orioles countered Suarez with Kyle Bradish. We'll start in the top of the first. Schwarber, he helped out my Dong Notice squad by hitting the 4th pitch of the game from Bradish out for his 14th home run of the season. Schwarber has the 3rd fastest swing in baseball behind Giancarlo Stanton and O'Neal Cruz.
Stanton makes sense there. I would not have guessed O'Neal Cruz.
Yeah, it's a new thing this year, the fastest swing stats.
It's funny, too, because there's certain guys who don't swing fast who are still really good. So it makes you realize that the ability to actually put the bat on the ball is what matters the most.
Bottom third, Mullins, he's coming back to life. He'd lead off with a double. He'd go to third on a flyout, and then he would score an Adley's double down the third baseline. The Orioles would tie the game up at 1. And I have a missed opportunity in the bottom of the fourth. Did you get this?
Yes. So for the O's, Santander and Hayes led off the inning with consecutive singles. Mateo bunted, but they got the force out at third, so they still had runners at first and second with one out. So that completely defeated the purpose of bunting. And then James McCann, good old backup catcher, hit into a ground ball double play.
Yeah, that was the easiest double play I think we'll see a team turn all season.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of bunting to begin with, let alone the fact that none of the Orioles are actually very good at it. I know Mateo does on occasion, but like he's not especially good at it, and really nobody else bunts.
Yeah, bunting is a dying art. I don't not like bunting though.
I think there's a time and place for bunting. There's certain people who hate bunting ever in any circumstances. I do think it can be valuable. If you're down by a run and you get the leadoff runner to second base or something, I think it can be useful there, but it all depends on the situation and who you got coming up. And that's probably why, actually, that they bunted, because they knew they had James McCann coming up next.
That's true. But yeah, but the fourth inning does seem kind of early to be pulling out the tricks.
That's true.
Top five, Marshawn, who's playing for the injured Real Muto, he would hit one right off the burger.
Yes, I love that call. I watched it several times. I thought it was right on the burger, right in the burger, right off the burger. But Marshawn got his first home run of the season, his first since 2021. This guy, I've never heard of this guy. I would imagine most people who aren't Phillies fans have either.
No, I don't think Phillies fans are too thrilled to see him in the lineup either. They love Real Muto.
Rightfully so. I mean, I think for a while the talk was the best catcher in baseball is either Agley or Real Muto, and Real Muto's getting kind of old and is now injured, so maybe Agley will take the throne.
He's way more expensive than Adley currently.
Yeah, hopefully not for long.
Bottom five, the Orioles are batting. Masson cuts to the bullpen, and we see Keegan Aiken warming up. And right away, I'm like, oh, Kyle Bradish died. There's no reason for Keegan Aiken to be warming up here.
Yeah, I agree.
So we'll save the Bradish talk for after this game. Bottom seven, another missed opportunity. Adley was strikeout looking with runners on second and third and 2 outs. That brings us to the bottom of the eighth now. Matt Strahm and his 0.67 ERA are in the game. He'd get the first 2 outs before Santander would hit a home run to tie this up at 2. Strahm's ERA went from 0.67 all the way up to 0.96 after this home run.
Yeah. Is it just me, or has Santander had some clutch hits recently?
Oh, he's killing it. I couldn't believe people were saying he was washed or not. Like, just wait. Santander, he's money in the bank. He's money in the bank. Yeah. He's on pace to break his career in home runs just after like this past week, this power surge.
and it seems like, I don't know, maybe I'm just like, I had some weird dream where he did it a bunch of times, but I have it in my head that he's had a few like clutch late home runs in the last couple weeks. But I might just be making that up.
No, he's a guy you want to see in the batter's box now.
Yeah.
Like even more than Gunnar. Just, currently in this present like week period.
Yeah, in the high pressure situations, especially because Santander is a switch hitter, so you don't have to worry about bringing in the, unless it's Keegan Aiken to face the lefty on lefty.
So top 10, there's way too much going on here. Sosa of the Phillies, what's his name? Edmundo?
Yep.
Edmundo Sosa, he'd reach on an infield hit. Bryson Stott, who was drafted ahead of Gunnar Henderson, he's the ghost runner. He goes to third base. Stott is out on a missed tag by McCann. He went out of the baseline or something. The whole half inning felt like it was an hour long. Cano then walks Pache before getting a strikeout for the second out of the inning. And in comes Mr. Sadness, CNL Perez, to face the lefty Schwarber. Schwarber lines one to left field that brings in a run. Santander fires the throw to home to nail a sliding Rojas, who had pinch ran earlier in the inning for the final out. This was a perfect throw by Santander.
Yeah, also kind of a harbinger of things to come as far as reviewing calls at the plate. But, it is kind of sad, like you said, when Perez comes in to face the lefty and Schwarber just rips a line drive. Like, he just crushed that ball. It was only a single, but like it wasn't a seeing eye shot by any means. He just blasted it. Like, that is your one job, to get out the lefty.
Yeah, Schwarber is a menace. That was a great
He's
signing by
so
them.
good. Yeah.
So now we're in the bottom of 10th. Westberg gets hit by a pitch. There's 2 on, no outs. Kirkering gets Adley and O'Hearn to strike out. The Orioles are down to their final out. Gunnar works a walk to load the bases. They probably should have just walked him anyway. So this brings Santander up with the bases loaded, 2 outs, down by a run. Kirkering would fire a wild pitch. Did you see that what's his name? Marchand? He just
Marchand.
straight up missed the ball. It just went right up over his glove. It was not a wild pitch. It wasn't a pass ball either, but the dude just didn't catch the ball. It hits the brick backstop and bounces right back to him. Mullins is sliding head first. He has his oven mitt on. Marchand is diving headfirst at Mullins. Mullins is ruled out. He looked like he was going to stab the umpire. He was so pissed off.
And Mullins never shows emotion, really. You could tell, like, I immediately thought he must have been safe just seeing the way Mullins reacted, because he doesn't do that.
Yeah, Mullins is very calm, cool, collected. He's a professional baseball player.
It'd be like if Jordan Westberg just like freaked out. You'd be like, whoa, something's wrong here.
Like, oh yeah, he has emotions like other humans.
Yeah,
but yeah, go ahead.
The bounce that they got off that brick in the back could not have been any better. Like, if he was out, I would have been so mad, because the chances of that ball just going straight back to the plate where it came from and being perfectly there for the play to tag the runner, that just would have been super obnoxious, I thought.
Yeah, Marchand dove at Mullins, and he actually tagged him with his bare hand, not with the ball in the glove. And Mullins just slid the oven mitt into home. Calls reverse. The place goes nuts. But that ties the game at 3, and now we got a rain delay, 71 minutes. This really took the air out of the game.
Oh, completely. At this point, even I was like, do I care about this game anymore? Like, with the rain delay, I didn't want to sit there. I did. And just had the screen on in the corner waiting for it to start again. But it was like a new game started after that, almost.
Right. I kept seeing people who were there say, this is the greatest game I've ever been to. It's good for you. I can see that being the case. But as a TV thing, did you watch True Detective?
Yeah. Well,
season 1?
Not every season. Season 1, yes.
So season 1 of True Detective, for 7 hours and 45 minutes, it was like the best TV show you ever saw. But the last 15 minutes were piss, and it almost like erased the first 7 hours and 40. That's how this game was. This rain delay just took the air out of the game. Jacob Webb would come in. He'd get the first out. The Orioles actually walked Bryce Harper here. I thought that was a good decision. And they face out like Baum. The move backfired. Baum ripped the first pitch off Waldemar. Hayes, I didn't really expect him to catch this ball. It looked like a tough play to me.
Hayes said himself after the game that he should have caught it, but I agree. I feel like he was kind of being hard on himself and just trying to, take some attention off the fact that Webb gave up a rocket. But throughout this series, Alec Boehm I hated him because he was just so good. He couldn't get him out.
Yeah, on Friday, this move made sense to me. After seeing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday as a whole, yeah, you didn't want to pitch to Alec Boehm in hindsight.
It's like pitch to Harper instead.
So this gave the Phillies the 5-3 victory. The Orioles were 1 for 13 with runners in scoring position. Keegan Aiken, though, was incredible replacing Bradish. 3 innings pitched, 4 strikeouts, only 30 pitches over the 3 innings, 21 strikes. But now we have to have the tough conversation of Kyle Bradish. Over or under 1 start left this season. What do you think?
Oh, man. We've already been wrong about this before. I guess I'm going to stick to my guns and say 0.
I think he's done. He's toast. Fork.
To have the same injury, like, what do you think? Do you think that's legit? Do you think he ever got better? Or if they're just like,
no.
Oh, now it hurts, so we're just going to say it's the same thing?
I don't think he ever got better. I think this is like I mentioned a few weeks ago with the Shane Bieber situation where it doesn't matter how well you're pitching if you have this injury. That can pop at any time. And I just think it finally gave out on him. He was worth the risk to wait on, especially when you went all in with Burns.
Mm-hmm.
He has some say in the matter. So the Orioles and him obviously came to agreement. Do you want to have the surgery? Do you want to try and pitch? He chose to pitch because the player is always going to choose to play.
Right.
He had the PRP injection. It looked like it bought him, 6 starts in total?
8.
8 starts. Yeah, it was fun while it lasted.
I mean, he was very, very good, which almost makes it more frustrating because it's like, damn, this is the guy we're losing. It's not like he came in and sucked and you're like, whatever, we won't miss him.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think of that. Yeah, if he came in, had like 3 shit starts and just couldn't overcome the injury, be like, well, okay. But yeah, he looked Cy Young like. He was even better than last season somehow.
Yeah, his ERA, his FIP were better. His WHIP was a little bit higher. Striking out more batters this year in only 8 starts, but yeah.
I'm
if he
surprised
doesn't
made
come
that
back,
many.
it's a huge loss, but as you and I both suspected, we didn't think he would pitch at all, so I guess this is better than nothing.
Yeah, the hindsight is going to prove he should have had the surgery 5 months ago. Because now 2025 is probably compromised. If there's a setback, maybe part of 2026. This is just shitty all around.
He could also just be a freak with genetic UCLs that don't tear, and he comes back in a month. I don't know.
That's true. We are talking like he's dead, but like I'm sure we'll find out before our next recording what the possible prognosis might be going forward this season. But I'm betting everything on announcement of surgery coming up soon.
Yeah, if you made me pick will he come back or no, I'd certainly say no.
And
but
also,
he's already proved us wrong.
Like he was already skipped. Yeah, there's this. Yeah, whatever. But if he misses all of next season and Burns leaves, we're looking at a possible 4-man rotation of Grayson, Irvin, Kramer, and Povich, which doesn't sound too bad.
It's not a World Series contender rotation.
Exactly.
Which I think you would hope for.
You would have to make a move somewhere.
Maybe this will influence them to try to sign Burns in the offseason if he is amenable to it.
That's what I was just about to say. I hate to give out 7-year contracts to a pitcher, but Burns is that dude.
If anybody's going to say, yeah, I want to go play for the Orioles right now, it's somebody who's already been there and knows, what it's like, and he'll have that year under his belt to make his own decision. Do I like it here? Do I want to stay here or not? And hopefully things go well enough and he likes the area and the team enough that he wants to stay if the Orioles want to keep him.
You figure the other teams that would be in the market for him, this is just me guessing off the top of my head, you would have the Rangers because they like to throw money at pitchers. The Yankees. The Phillies are tied up. I don't see them having the wiggle room to add a Corbin Burns-like contract.
I don't know. What about the Dodgers? Like if
you never know.
Kershaw's done after this year.
The Giants too. They've been trying to give money away for a couple of years and just no one will take it.
Right. And I think, isn't Burns from California?
That sounds right.
Let's do some sleuthing. See if
they got to pay him.
We're going to predict. Oh, he's from Bakersfield. That's nowhere near San Francisco, but it's still West Coast.
They've already invested the generational Joey Ortiz into him. So at this point, you might as well just pay him.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, I mean, that is one way to look at it. Like, we already lost this one prospect. Are we going to give him away for one season?
But I think a rotation of Burns, Grayson, Irvin, Kramer, and Povich is decent. I'm tired of hearing the Jesus Luzardo pining for by Orioles
He's not
fans.
good.
No, he's not good.
Like, just because
you read an article.
Right, or that he was a good prospect 5 years ago. Like, yeah, he had potential. He didn't reach it, so let's move on.
Move on. At this point, I'm no joke. You're better off trading for Jack Flaherty again than trading for Jesus Luzardo.
Yeah. Well, didn't the Tigers only sign him to a 1-year deal?
Yeah.
He'll
Could you
definitely
imagine
be traded.
Trading 6 players for Jack Flaherty over the course of 2 seasons?
And then to have him come in and just suck again.
Oh my God.
Orioles
Yeah.
fans' heads would explode if they traded for him again, unless it was anything other than like some dude nobody's heard of in like Aberdeen or something.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't trade the ones I mentioned earlier.
Right.
Kerstad, Mayo. Yeah, don't do that.
I wonder about Bradfield too, because he's
Ooh.
got a profile that nobody else in the system really has. I wonder if they would want to keep him too.
Yeah, it seemed like they went out of their way to get him. I wish they would have drafted that guy I saw pitch for Gwinnett last week, who's since debuted for the Braves.
Oh yeah, that
Hurston Waldrep or
Waldrep
something.
guy.
Yeah,
I saw his name and remembered you had mentioned him. He did pretty well, I think.
yeah, they could use him right about now.
Right.
So this brought us to Saturday, game number 70 already. That's insane. Taiwan Walker versus Grayson Rodriguez. We start off early. Bomb doubled with 2 outs, scoring Bryce Harper to put Philly up 1-0. And then Edmundo Sosa would lead off the inning with a home run to make it 2-0 Philly. And right away, I'm like, oh no, we're getting struggle Grayson.
Yeah, this definitely seemed like one of those starts initially where Grayson was just going to have to fight through it and probably eat a loss. But the Orioles helped him out in the bottom of the third when Arias led off with a double. Gunnar singled, so they had runners on first and third. And Agley was able to get a sac fly to score Arias and bring them within 2-1.
Bottom 4, Santander would tie the game up at 2 with his 16th home run of the season, his 7th home run in June.
Bottom 6, the O's got another with leadoff singles from Mountcastle and O'Hearn. Then Santander was able to get a sac fly again and score Mountcastle to make it 3-2.
O'Hearn is second in the major leagues in slugging percentage with 2 strikes. He's slugging .513 with 2 strikes. That's a fun stat.
Basically only against righties for the most part, I would say.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
But like, yeah, a platoon, you think about, you can't platoon every position, obviously. You have to be selective. But with O'Hearn against righties and Mountcastle against lefties, that's a pretty damn good first base platoon you got. Even though they don't all play first base, DH, outfield, whatever.
Yeah, O'Hearn's been playing a lot more in outfield than I would have guessed going into the season.
Mm-hmm.
So the Orioles have their first lead of the game, 3-2. They did strand 2 more in the inning, though, when Gregory Soto was brought in from the bullpen. Brandon Hyde would counter with Austin Hayes. He struck out swinging with one of the saddest at-bats you'll see all season.
Yeah, the last pitch he swung at was like 3 feet. It almost like hit him in the back leg, it looked like.
Yeah, this was bad. I think it was 3 pitches, too. It was no more than 4, if I remember correctly. Gregory
Soto was 2-time All-Star with Detroit.
Yeah, he's got a live arm. He almost killed Gunnar later on. So top 7, Garrett Stubbs is on base. He's picked off first, but Mountcastle's throw to second hit Stubbs in the back. So there's first base is open with 2 outs. Stubbs is on second. Schwarber's coming up. Grayson's approaching 100 pitches. They elect to pitch to Schwarber, who would bounce one to Mountcastle behind the bag for the third out of the inning. That was cool. That's the whole scenario where, you got this monster coming up to the plate. Grayson's running out of gas, and they were able to shut it down.
Right. I also, to backtrack a little, I loved the reaction Grayson had when he struck out Sosa to end the 6th. He was super pumped. It annoys me when other players do that on other teams, but I like it when it's the O's.
Yeah, I like seeing it from Grayson, too, because I've talked about his body language a lot last year, and for the most part, I think he's cleaned that up this year, and he is showing emotion when he is getting big strikeouts.
Right.
O'Hearn, bottom 8, he would lead off with a single. Mateo is into pinch run, but it doesn't matter because Tony Taters for the second time in the game. And Jim Palmer credited Mateo with being on base as a big distraction to Ruiz, who was pitching. And did you hear Jim Palmer's call? It sounded like he said, "Holy shit," as soon as the ball left Santander's bat.
No, I didn't notice that.
Oh, yeah, you got to look that up. I can't tell if he does, but it definitely sounds like it because that ball was smashed.
I'll check it out. Did that make it to Utah Street? It looked close.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
So 5-2 O's. Gunnar would drive in a 6th run with his second hit of the day. as Kimbrel would strike out the side in the ninth. The Orioles win a big game here. Did you see Gunnar? So Gunnar almost got killed by that Soto high and tight fastball. Gunnar hit one line drive right back to Soto then. Did you see how hard Gunnar ran down the line trying to beat that out?
Oh,
That
yeah.
guy's a psychopath.
That was pure adrenaline, I think.
Yeah, I love it. He is a psychopath.
Uh-huh. He
So
always
that's it.
he just always has that look on his face. Like when he's mad, it just has like the crazy eyes, you know?
So 3 stars. The bullpen, Baker and Kimbrel, 2 innings pitched, 4 strikeouts. I don't know. Brian Baker, the outmaker.
Oh, I like that. As long as he's
Oh, you
not
never heard that
batting,
before?
that's a good nickname if he's not a hitter.
Grayson, slow start, going down 2-0 after 2 innings, but that was all the Phillies would muster. 7 innings pitched, 7 hits, 2 earned, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk, 99 pitches, 73 strikes.
He salvaged a great outing out of one that could have been bad.
When he needed to step up the day after Bradish died.
Yeah.
Santander, 2 for 2, 2 home runs, 1 walk, 4 RBI. His first multi-homer game of the season, 14th of his career. He hit 849 feet worth of long balls.
He's been on fire. I don't know the numbers, but I feel like the only guy who's been hotter than him lately is Aaron Judge, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll be seeing him next week. John Means spoke to reporters before the game. Did you see this? He said he never doubted he'd get the second Tommy John surgery.
No, I saw him in the dugout and they were showing him with his cast on and stuff, but he said he never, like, he knew he would get a second one. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I guess, like, he just, no doubts, I'm coming back to pitch. He also said he could tell something was wrong in the bullpen before the game, that his elbow was compromised, but he didn't want to let the bullpen down. These guys are crazy.
I mean, in theory, it is just your arm, but it is your livelihood too, so they are kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's why they make good money, at least.
Right.
This brought us to Sunday, Father's Day. Zach Wheeler versus Corbin Burns in a big-time pitching matchup that one person showed up for.
Yeah, this was... Again, I don't watch every game, that's for sure, of, around baseball, but between the Phillies and Orioles with Corbin Burns and Zach Wheeler, I don't know of a better matchup so far this season. Could be the game of the year so far, as far as hype.
Yeah, on paper. Right away, Gunnar kicked things off with his 22nd home run. I'd say there's a 0% chance that you don't see Gunnar Henderson in person while you're at the Home Run Derby next month. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. I'm excited. Honestly, I feel like Gunnar's power is like twice that of Agley. I know that's not true, but it just seems that way to me. And Agley was also a beast in the Derby. So if Gunnar is in it, I'll be very, very excited to watch that.
I don't know if I know what I'm talking about here, but you saying that, I do feel like Gunnar's home runs like laser beam off his bat, while Adley hits more like towering shots, like
they're like
up higher in
and
the air.
shorter. They like dive over the wall. Where Gunnar hits like, I don't know, like Reggie Jackson home runs, like over the what do they call it? Up on the roof at Tiger Stadium in that All-Star game. That's how it seems like Gunnar hits him.
You won't be seeing Gunnar bat from the right side though in the Home Run Derby. That wouldn't be a good look.
That would be funny, actually.
Bottom second, Cowser would send one 443 feet with a runner on base, and the Orioles are up 3-0 all of a sudden.
Yeah, Cowser blasted that one 443 feet. As you just said, I don't know of an Orioles home run that's been further this year. I think maybe one. So that was just grooved, essentially. And then the O's continued their streak of hitting a home run in each inning as Agley hit the first pitch of the third inning for a solo shot and a 4-0 Orioles lead. And that was Agley's second home run on Mother's and Father's Day this year. He hit both.
Ah, he's the gift that keeps giving.
Right.
So top four, Stubbs would single, Schwarber would double. Schwarber is batting .250 this season, and that's like 400 for him.
Yeah, because he gets on base so much too.
Yeah, man, Schwarber's fun. I hate that he's on the Phillies.
No, he's good. The only thing with him is he's like David Ortiz at this point. He's like useless in the field. He's just purely a DH, but he's a very good hitter.
Yeah, remember they had to play him in the field last year because Harper was coming back from the arm injury?
When Schwarber was drafted as a catcher, too. That's what
Oh,
he started out as a catcher in the Cubs organization. They drafted him out of Indiana, I think like 4th overall, maybe.
that was such a plus for the Cubs when they were making their World Series run and they had Schwarber coming back just for the postseason, basically.
He like tore his ACL, right?
And that was pre DH all the time. So
Mhm.
they were getting this DH at the perfect time for them because pitchers were batting back then, if kids forgot.
Man, those teams were good. I mean, they had him and Bryant and Rizzo, and
Pete
Javier
Bryant.
Baez was good back then. They were good.
Jason Hayward was supposed to be a thing.
Right.
So Castellanos will ground out as Stubbs comes in to score. There's a meeting on the mound, 2 on, 2 out for Baum. Baum is hitting. Is it Bohm? It's Bohm.
I think it's Bohm.
Bohm. Bohm is hitting 347, 3 home runs, 46 RBIs with runners in scoring position. He'd come through with an RBI single. It's 4-2 Orioles. How many RBI does he have this season if he has 46 just with runners in scoring position?
I saw those numbers come up, and I was like, that can't just be this year.
Yeah, that was my thought.
But no, before today, he's got 55 RBIs. So yeah, he's got a lot.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's having a great year, and he certainly looked like it against the O's. He was impossible to get out.
Bottom 5, Mountcastle start the inning off with his 500th career base hit. They grow up so fast.
Remember when he was like their big prospect coming up?
Yeah.
Nothing against him, but it's different now.
He won an International League MVP with the Tides.
Oh. I don't think I realized that. That's impressive for like a young guy to do that, you know? Because they got a bunch of older guys who put up big numbers in those leagues.
Yeah. He didn't have a good day though. He's 1 for 5 with 3 strikeouts.
Mm-hmm.
O'Hearn and Santander singles. Westberg comes up. He makes this one of the worst starts by Zach Wheeler's 242 career starts. A 3-run blast scoring Santander and O'Hearn. It's 8-2 Orioles. This game is a wrap.
Yeah, the Phillies got just one more run at the end off bummer Cionel Perez, but 4 home runs by Zach Wheeler was the most he's ever allowed in a single start, and Corbin Burns decidedly won this super hyped matchup.
I saw a tweet from Paul Casella. Zach Wheeler was the first Phillies pitcher to allow 4+ home runs and 8+ runs in a game since Vicente Padilla on April 19th, 2005.
Do you remember that old fantasy baseball commercial from years ago where the guy drafts Vicente Padilla?
No, I remember the TJ Hushmanzada one.
I'll have to look it up. I don't remember even what it was for, but they were doing a fantasy baseball draft, and this guy's time was running out, and he couldn't decide who to draft, so he was just like, Vicente Padilla. Just always cracked me up.
I can't believe he played as recently as 2005.
Yeah. I would have thought even more recently, to be honest.
Huh. I feel like I remember him from like 1989.
No, he's not that old.
You don't think?
No. He debuted in 99.
Oh, I wonder who I'm thinking of then.
I don't know.
He probably lied about his age.
Yeah, I'll have to see if I can find that commercial. I'm not seeing it when I look quickly, but it was funny.
Okay, he was a Dodger. I did remember him with the Dodgers. So 3 stars. Number 3, Corbin Burns. He became the first pitcher in the modern era with at least 5 innings pitched, 3 runs allowed or fewer, 3 walks allowed or fewer in each of his 14 starts with a team. This was his 10th consecutive quality start, the longest active streak. The longest streak since Jeremy Guthrie of the Orioles in 2007.
Ooh.
Number 2 stars, the Fighter Jets. What was going on with those? It was Fleet Week?
That was cool. I liked that. It was kind of weird that they had to pause the game for it. I'm sure there were pilots who were like, I'm just going to go show off because there's 40,000 people standing there.
Yeah, huge crowds in these games.
Yeah, I think it was just because of all Phillies fans, but...
Yeah, in the heavyweight matchup, 2 winning teams.
Right. Corbin Burns is down to 6th in the league in ERA right now. 2.14.
I love him. I don't want to think of next
He's
season.
3rd in the AL. The top 3 are all National League.
He makes it look so easy.
I like that he just lets them hit the ball for the most part.
Right. Yes, just here it is. I got my guys behind me. You can't do shit.
Right.
Whereas Grayson, prior to his last couple starts, it was just always seems to be pitching around guys, where Corbin's here. Hopefully Grayson can pick up what Corbin Burns is doing, and then just now we can have 2 Corbin Burnses. That'd be fun.
Burns also has he has a knack for working out of jams, and occasionally he will
Mhm.
allow a couple guys on base, but he doesn't seem to often allow it to snowball, you know?
And he never shows any emotion, good or
Yeah.
bad.
Right, that's for sure.
He's like a serial killer.
Yes, he's like Mullins and Westberg and those guys.
Yeah, he's just dead behind the eyes. Number 1 star. I'm going to start calling him. I left in our before we started recording of me talking about Westberg's names last week. So I'm going to call him Jacob Westberg here. He was 2 for 4, 2 runs, 3 RBI, 2 errors. I'm just going to start calling him a different J name from now on.
Right.
See if anybody catches on or calls me out. So Jacob Westberg had a good game. That's it for our recaps.
Yeah, this week the O's continue their string of difficult opponents. They actually get an off day on Monday, which is a new thing for them this month. They travel to New York for 3 games against the Yankees, and then down to Houston, who has not been as good as they usually have been lately, but I would not take them lightly either.
Yeah, I'm glad to see them struggling. Their owner is nuts. You can't have 3 GMs in like 6 years and expect to keep it going. Dusty Baker was such a steadying thing for him too. I think their manager is friends with Brandon Hyde. It's like his brother-in-law or something. Is that him?
Their manager is Joe Espada.
Is he Brandon Hyde's brother-in-law?
It'd be funny if he's not, because that's so random, but let's
He is.
All right. Good.
I saw this on Masson once.
Okay. Yeah, I've never heard of that guy.
Yeah, Hyde managed the Marlins Class A Greensboro Grasshoppers in 2006. Espada was the team's hitting coach, and he became a friend of Hyde's and Hyde's wife, Lisa. So then I guess he married Hyde's wife's sister.
Yes, Espada, according to Wikipedia, he married the sister of Brandon Hyde's wife.
So that'll be fun. Let's take a quiz and get out of here. We got MLB win leaders by team. Can you choose each Major League Baseball team's career leader in wins?
We talking pitching or like managers?
Yeah, it has to be pitching.
Okay.
30 questions, 5 minutes.
Are there
Clock has started.
So it's every team multiple choice or no?
Yeah, right now we have the Minnesota Twins, 417 wins. Brad Radke, Walter Johnson, Jim Cott, or Bert Blyleven. It's got to be Walter Johnson. Yeah. Did Blyleven win 300?
No idea.
I think he's one of those guys like 290. But Walter Johnson is correct. San Francisco Giants, 372 wins. Chrissy Mathewson, Mickey Welch, Carl Hubble, or Juan Marichal.
I would think like Hubble or I would guess Mathewson, I guess.
Yeah, Mathewson's my guess. Yep, that's correct.
Let's go with the old guys.
356 wins. Phil Niekro, Glavine, Kid Nichols, or Warren Spahn. It's not Glavine. It's not Niekro.
I would say Spahn or Kid Nichols.
I'll say Kid Nichols.
Kid Nichols is older than Spahn.
I would think so. Just a name like that.
Right.
That's Warren Spahn.
Damn.
Oakland Athletics, 284 wins. Eddie Rommel, Chief Bender, Lefty Grover, Eddie Plank.
Eddie Plank.
Lefty. All right. Yep, that's correct.
All right.
Baltimore Orioles, Jim Palmer, Mike Mussina, Mike Cuellar, or Dave McNally?
Palmer, I think.
Yeah, I would think so too. Mussina's half his wins came with the Yankees.
True.
Palmer's correct. The Guardians, 266. Mel Harder, Bob Feller, Bob Levin, or Stan Kovalevsky?
I would
I
say
guess it's
Feller.
Feller. Yeah,
He missed time
that's
due to
correct.
wars, but he was good.
White Sox, Billy Pierce, Red Faber, Ed Walsh, Ted Lyons, 260 wins. I
I
don't know
haven't
any
heard
of
of
these
like any of
names.
those guys.
Yeah,
Just pick one.
Red Faber. Nope, Ted Lyons. Cardinals, 251. Bob Gibson, Adam Wainwright, Bob Force, or Jesse Haynes. Gibson,
I would
right?
guess Gibson. Wainwright just got 200 before he retired.
Bob Gibson's correct. Phillies, 241. Pete Alexander, Robin Roberts, Steve Carlton, or Chris Short. It's Carlton or Roberts.
Ooh, what about Pete Alexander?
Oh, you know that name? I have no idea who that is.
He's an old guy. That's all I know. It could be Carlton. I'm gonna go with Carlton. He's the obvious one.
It's Carlton. Yankees,
Right.
236. Pettit, Lefty Gomez, Red Ruffing, or Whitey Ford. Did Pettit win that many? My guess is Whitey Ford.
Say it again.
Pettit, Lefty Gomez, Red Ruffing, or Whitey Ford. 236.
I would guess Red Ruffing. That's a funny name.
It was Whitey Ford.
Damn.
Dodgers, 233. We got 2 minutes left. Dazzy Vance, Clayton Kershaw, Don Sutton, or Don Drysdale?
Sutton.
That's correct. Tigers, 223. George Mullen, Hal Newhouser, Mickey Lolich, Hooks Doss.
Let's try Hooks Doss. That's a good name.
Hey, that's correct. Pirates, 202. Sam Lever, Wilbur Cooper, Babe Adams, or Bob Friend?
No clue.
My gut's saying Bob Friend. Nope, it's Wilbur Cooper. Cubs, 201. Charlie Root, Bill Hutchinson, Mordecai Brown, Larry Corcoran.
Mordecai Brown.
Charlie Root.
Damn.
Mets, 198. Gooden, Ron Darling, Jerry Koosman, or Tom Seaver? Ooh. It's got to be Seaver, Koosman.
Seaver?
All right. Yep. Red Sox, 2 players. 192. Wakefield and Tiant, Pedro and Mel Parnell. It's Cy Young and Roger Clemens.
All right.
Yep. Reds, 179. Epa Rixey, Bucky Walters, Paul Derringer, Tony Mullane. No idea.
No clue.
Epa Rixey. Yeah.
All right.
Blue Jays, 175. Jim Clancy, Holiday, Jimmy Key, or Dave Steeb. I believe this is Dave Steeb.
Steeb, yeah.
Yep. Mariners, 169. Jamie Moyer, Randy Johnson, Felix Hernandez, or Freddie Garcia. This is Moyer.
You think for the Mariners?
Yeah. It's either him or Hernandez.
I would think Felix because he played his whole career with the Mariners.
Yep, it's Felix. 166 Royals, Gubazaw, Kevin Apier, Paul Splitterorf, or Dennis Leonard.
Splitterorf? What's that?
Yeah. Apier and Gubazaw didn't win that many.
Pick the last guy.
Leonard? Nope, it's Splitteroff.
Damn.
We're out of time. I think we got 10 questions left. So we'll keep going. Oh, it just gave me the answer for this one. Wait, did it? Angels, 165. Nolan Ryan, Mike Witt, Chuck Finley, or Jared Weaver?
Chuck Finley.
That one's red. That must be the correct answer. Oh, it gives me the answer. So, Nationals, 158. Scherzer, Steve Rogers, Dennis Martinez, or Strasburg?
Dennis Martinez.
Nope, Steve Rogers.
Dang.
Houston Astros, 144. Joe Niekro, Larry Durker, Roy Oswalt, or Mike Scott?
Niekro.
Yep. So that's 15. Rangers, 139. Kenny Rogers, Bobby Witt, Ferguson Jenkins, or Charlie Huff?
Huff.
Huff is correct. So that's 16. Diamondbacks, 118. Randy Johnson, Patrick Corbin, Brandon Webb, or Kurt Schilling? Remember how good Brandon Webb was for like 2 years?
Yeah, he was nasty. That one's hard because all those guys were good and none of them played that long.
And it's not as hard as you think.
Randy Johnson?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's 17. Brewers, 117. Jim Slayton, Moose Haas, Mike Caldwell, or Teddy Higuera?
I haven't heard of like any of those guys.
I remember Higuera from the 80s. This is a sad list. And the Brewers winningest pitcher is only 117.
Right. Who was
I'll
it?
just tell you, it's Jim Slayton.
Okay.
Padres, they have less than 117. They got 100.
Huh.
Eric Shaw, Jake Peavy, Ed Whitson, or Randy Jones?
Peavy.
Nope, it's Eric Shaw.
Hmm.
Tampa Bay, 87 wins. Scott Kazmir, David Price, James Shields, or Chris Archer?
Kazmir.
Nope, James Shields.
Man.
Rockies, 86 wins. Aaron Cook, Herman Marquez, Jeff Francis, or Jorge De La Rosa? That is a sad list.
Cook.
Nope, De La Rosa.
Interesting.
Cook would have been my guess. 81 wins for the Marlins. Ricky Nolasco, Josh Johnson, Dontrell Willis, or Brad Penny? This is the last guy I would have picked on this list.
Nolasco.
Yeah. So I think that's 18.
So it clearly is asking in descending order. It's kind of interesting. Some of those older teams that you think would have a big winner don't. Like the Pirates and the Cubs.
Yeah, the Pirates one. I hadn't heard of any of those guys.
No.
So I think we got 18 out of 30, but time ran out with about 10 left. That's pretty good. Some of those were tough.
That is tough. I mean, especially nowadays, it's gonna change how certain questions were like, oh, it's usually the old people, and I feel like now it's gonna get even more like that with pitchers pitching less.
That's all we got this week.
Yeah, and before we go, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. My dad's the reason I'm an Orioles fan, and he coached me and all my teams growing up, and is the reason I played baseball and I'm into it. So, happy Father's Day.
Oh yeah, you want to tell them about your kick-ass Father's Day gift you're wearing?
Oh yeah, my wife and my 2-year-old twins, they got me. I say that sarcastically. They got me a sweet Cal Ripken Rochester Red Wings jersey from Ebbets Field Flannels that I love. So
number 5.
Yeah, I don't know when he changed this number 8. I mean, I wonder if it was just once he got to the O's and Brooks Robinson had it. So.
Oh yeah, I would have never thought of that. And now number 8's iconic. Make it your own,
Yeah, there you go. He did it.
Yeah. So we'll see you next week. Go O's.